take all the sharp objects off of your PC and kiss your network goodbye. So anyway, go ahead.
Okay, we're still just getting set up here. We good to go there? On the slides? Yeah. How do you turn these things on? All right. No. How do we turn on the screens?
They turn these things on by telling somebody with a radio to like start shouting into the radio to fix this if this is a problem. So both of them don't work?
Where's this?
Well, before I go execute the summon AV elf spell, I need to know exactly. Not exactly. You need that one, and it's not. And how about this one? Either one? Oh, goody. All right. Well, you wing it for a second. I'll go deal.
Okay, you guys get to live without slides for a little while here. That didn't sound healthy. Okay. We're basically up here. I'm Renderman. This is Thorn. We're here representing the Church of Wi-Fi. Yeah, it sounds as stupid as it is. Hey, there we go. The talk is a bastard, a rainbow, and a Great Dane. Unfortunately, our Great Dane, who is actually in Denmark, we were trying to get him on a video feed. Things just don't seem to be working out. We can't get him on. So unfortunately, we'll be without him and also be without one of our projects. However, we'll still be able to talk about it, and we will be releasing it. So. All right. Joshua Wright down here in front also contributed, helped us out. Basically, rather than reinventing the wheel, just did some coding for us. Streaker, you're out there, over there. He's the webmaster for the Church of Wi-Fi. Gave us our space and everything. Dutch was the guy in Denmark. He's unfortunately unable to attend. Goldfinder off the NS forums, and Drygorn, Mike Kershaw, over there, who pulled my ass out of the fire at the last possible moment. People need to buy this man a beer. I'll explain why in a little bit. Okay. Quickly, what the Church of Wi-Fi is about is we are nothing serious. We're not elite or anything. We don't care about this. How many of you guys know of Blackwave? Okay, a few of you. Blackwave, for the longest time, had about 4 times as many posts on the NetStumbler forums as anybody else. And just any question you asked him, he had the answer to. Basically inspiration for a lot of us, including myself. He had the idea of creating the Church of Wi-Fi as just a fun site to release tools from. They released a few things, War Kisnes and that a few years ago, but they never really did anything with it. 2 years ago, he just kind of up and vanished. Nobody knows where he went. But all of his domains expired. So when the Church of Wi-Fi came up again, I grabbed it just for safekeeping because he didn't want some domain squatter to get it. Streaker made an offer for web space for a bunch of us on the NetStumbler forums to get together and post our projects and collaborate and everything. So I had the perfect name for it, so that's how we set that up. And really, it's just, there's all these little how-tos and things all over the web you've seen, all these things that there's no central place to find these things, and we were just trying to pull these together. We're not saying you need to use only the church site, but just post a little blurb about your project and link back to it. So if you're after some cool new little hack or something, just go there, and like our link farm is actually getting quite impressive. A lot of WRT, 54G hacking links and such. We're just slowly growing. It's only been about 3 or 4 months now. So anyone can join. The only provision is if you join within a month or 2, you should contribute something. So if we don't care about having the name attached to it or anything like that. We don't care. It's just we want to get the projects out there and have some fun. So, okay. What we've been working on. Joshua Wright, based off of some work that I have done, came out with Kiswin back in October. How many of you have used that or seen that at all? It's Kismet for Windows. Okay, a couple of you. We also came out with the J. Dumas tool for cracking WPA PSK. I'll get into that in a moment. Don't worry, self-deprecating humor is coming up here quickly. Some fun with WDS. and the evil bastard, which unfortunately could not be in attendance, but we will be discussing and releasing the firmware for, and just some ideas for future work. So. Okay, quickly, Kismet on Windows. The how-to has been there. The capability to run the Kismet server under Cygwin on Windows has been around for a while. I wrote up a how-to on how to do it because there was no real good explanation of what needed to be done. There was a few source changes needed to be made and such. Joshua Wright took this and whipped it up into a nice little package, VB script to fill in the information, and getting heckled over here, and created this nice little 8 meg package. It's been available since what, October we did that? Yeah. I'm trying to maintain all of the how-tos and everything I've got within a week of release. And yeah, new packages coming up. I've got a Windows installer for it now, so you don't even have to deal with the VBS. Well, you will have to deal with the VBS script, but you know, it's Win32 installer, installs Kiswin, puts everything where it needs to be. Nucore, Dragon over there has been kind enough to keep feeding me new ideas for things, and I keep feeding ideas back to him. The new drones, Kismet on Windows. I'm going to try to have the how-to on that up within a week of Nucore's release, whenever that happens to be. And I don't know, is the rule every time you ask, it's 2 weeks later? Something like that. Okay. I've also got an auto drone script. How many of you have played with the Kismet drones on modified WRT 54Gs? Anybody? Okay, a couple of you. There's some wanker on eBay who is selling these things and claiming that he did all the work, crediting Joshua, but there's a whole bunch of other people he hasn't. Basically, I'm trying to undercut him so that you can do it yourself as stupidly simple as possible. It's a script I came up with because I'm constantly blowing up my drones, and so this is just to help me reload everything. I'm going to be posting that, Windows-based installer. There's now no excuse to not have some variety of poor man's IDS system on your network. You know, $50, you get a WRT 54G, set it up as a drone. You know, if you've got a monitoring station for your network, Windows, Linux, whatever, you can now at least see into that RF layer. Because if your network's dropping at 3 o'clock in the afternoon, your user's complaining, looking at it at a network layer isn't going to help you. You need to look in the RF. And if you didn't have something running and sniffing at the time, well, you're not going to catch it. So. Nucore, man, I'm really looking forward to that. We will be chatting a little bit afterwards. I know that he does take requests. You're probably liable to get something thrown at you if it's too dumb, but he hasn't thrown anything at me yet, so yes, that's good. Okay. How many of you have done WDS stuff at all? A couple. WDS is wireless distribution system. Now, what that is, it's just a way of doing bridges and repeaters. It's not in the 802.11 spec, but it's something that was added by manufacturers later because they realized the need for it. Can you hear me and everything? I'm not boring you to tears yet? Okay. It's chipset specific, so a Broadcom chip can only talk to a Broadcom chip with WDS. You know, 3Com units, they can only talk to themselves. You start seeing it a lot when you get universities, for some strange mode. There's repeat mode and bridge mode. Bridge mode is when 2 units are talking to each other exclusively. It's what you use to basically act as a big long wire covering a campus or whatever. You're just trying to span a distance. You're not having clients connected to the access points. You know, kind of useful. There's also repeat mode. This basically is a cheap way of actually is how the Linksys WT11s and their repeater units work. Is you just basically punch in the SSID and address of the network you want to repeat, and it sits there, and just any signal it sees from that one repeats on the next hop. WRT 54Gs have support for this. However, the Linksys firmware hides this. Basically, I think it's just so that they can sell the more expensive units and you know, make them money. And well, how many are into OpenWRT at all? Okay, a lot more hands. Good. Next slide. OpenWRT allows you direct access to the NVRAM on these, so you can tap into the functions of the Broadcom radio chip that's in these. NVRAM set WL0_WDS and the client MAC address, and you now have about a 50% cheaper replacement for the WET54G. Really kind of useful to have around if you ever need one. Unfortunately, half the bandwidth is devoted to backhaul, so if any clients that are connected to that repeater station will only get like 6 megabit over out of the 11 or whatever standard you happen to be running. However, WDS, when it repeats a signal back, I don't know if it's something with Linksys in their firmware. I have to dig into it a little more. But it does not act like an actual client to the access point, meaning that there is no logging. The Linksys firmware does not register any clients connected. Now, this can play a little further on with the evil bastard. We'll get into that. But it's not a two-way trust. I can go up to any network with a compatible chip, radio chip, set up a WDS repeat, and just go. You know, there's nothing on the other end that says I have to allow people to repeat this. So you can see coffee shops someday, you know, saying, "Yeah, we have Wi-Fi," and the guy across the street just sets up a bridge and says, "Me too." Okay. If we can repeat the signal and act like an access point, this has implications for spoofed access points. Now, with a lot of things like AirSnarf and that, the problem has always been, yeah, you can get clients to come to you, but if you're providing internet access, yeah, you have to have the ADSL or cable modem or some other way of getting net access. So you're kind of limited. You can't do this from your, you know, from the back of the car across the street from the coffee shop or something. Since a lot of manufacturers tend to use the Broadcom chipset, you've got a pretty good chance that you'll be able to use this WDS trick to just repeat the signal. Since there's no record of client associations and it's a one-way setup, all sorts of fun is possible. Okay. To go on to another project here, all of this will kind of culminate at the end and make sense. How many of you know Romer from the Worldwide War Drive or have been flamed by him on the DEF CON forums? Don't put your hand up if you have. At the DEF CON 13 war driving contests, for one of the contests, we had basically spent 2 hours staring at screens running running CowPatty, which is the de facto tool for WPA PSK cracking. Not fun. We lost. It sucked. Because it's a slow process. How many of you in your audits or anything have gone through and tried to crack a WPA PSK password? Yeah. A number of you. You know, it's slow as snot. It's not fun to sit there and stare at a screen as it's going along. So what we figured was you only had a very short time to do this in. We needed a way to speed this up. What we needed was a way to look for dumb WPA passwords. J. Dumas is something that Romer came up with and is still heckling me about today. The J. Dumas, you know, John Dumbass, what does a dumbass do? They set their username and their password the same. There was one of the war driving contests, you had to compromise a server. That's exactly what the username and password was. Yeah, I didn't get that one. Still heckling me today. And the other one we needed was a way to just pre-compute the hashes for a later date. You want to look for common, combinations of usernames and passwords. You do this with your NT-LANman, your NT passwords and everything else. You need to do this with your networks, with your wireless networks. A lot of dumb users, they say, enter a password. They just type in the first word they see, which is usually like Linksys, which is right in front of them. You need to audit for this. It just goes without saying. CowPatty works, but it takes a while to do. If you're doing a presentation trying to show off how vulnerable your network is and that it could be cracked and everything, to sit there for 2 or 3 hours just watching little numbers go by, not that impressive. This whole project basically came out of what was the tool that we wanted to have at the DEF CON war driving contest, and how could we use this next year and hopefully win, because I really want one of those leather jackets. So there had to be a faster way. Okay, for those of you who don't know anything about WPA PSK, what it is, it's a pre-shared key. Normally with WPA, they in the spec, they wanted to use like Radius or some other authentication method, excuse me, before the client was able to get access to the network. Problem is, most home users don't have a Radius server sitting there. Well, most of you probably do, but you know, Jay Dumbass doesn't have one. So what they did was they basically came up with an addendum to the spec that said, okay, you've got pre-shared key over here, and same one over here on the client. They go through a key exchange and set up through TKIP a rotating key. I'm probably butchering this. I am not a major cryptographer or anything, so basically what it is it's the passphrase seeded with the SSID of the network that it's protecting and the length of the SSID. That's gone through 4,096 iterations of SHA-1 times 256, am I right? Oh, 256-bit output. Excuse me, that's what it is. This means that each network key is unique. If I have linksys as my SSID and linksys my passphrase, if I do this on a different named network like D-Link and still have linksys as passphrase, it's going to come out differently. This makes it impossible for you to sit back and pre-compute all the keys like the rainbow tables that the Shmoo did, where they basically went from A through Z and everything in between, every possible iteration of alphanumeric characters for the LAN passwords. But because those aren't unique to each machine, then you can do that. With this, each network is unique. You need to calculate this ahead of time. You need to calculate each network individually. That's what I was trying to go. We often know the network that we'll be trying to crack. Either you'll be doing it for an audit, or if you're an attacker, you'll probably have done a preliminary run past your target and figured it out. It's not hard to guess. You can usually figure it out one way or another. Now, what you can do is if you pre-computed these keys ahead of time, overnight, back in the office, whatever, you could theoretically crack things instantaneously on site. Just a big lookup table. And you can save these for later. This gets to be a lot of fun. Awesome. Originally, we were going to do this as a standalone application. Cut and paste the cow patty code and come up with something on our own. Essentially just something to pre-compute the hash table and then compare the captures of the key from the client logon with what was in the hash table. Joshua Wright just kind of came out of nowhere with Kiswin, and I realized, wait a minute, we don't have to reinvent the wheel here. We've already got an application that goes through and pre-computes, or that computes on site the passphrase key and then compares it to what was in the capture. We've already got most of the steps here. That this isn't a terribly hard thing to continue on with. So, Cowpatty 3, which now supports the checking against a hash table, is what the output of that was. It gets even more fun. Since we can now pre-compute keys for later use on multiple machines, late at night, high-power machines you might have back in the closet the boss doesn't know about, and we can pre-compute for any SSID that we already know, we can pre-compute for all the default SSIDs. How many of you are familiar with the Linksys Global Network? How many of you used that before you got here? Okay, good, you didn't admit to a felony. Wiggle has a list of the top 1,000 SSIDs. That's over 50% of the networks in the Wiggle database. Everybody familiar with Wiggle? Wireless Internet Geographical Location Engine, wiggle.net. Basically, you submit war driving data with GPS coordinates, and they will generate maps and map packs that you can use on future drives. Full lookup on the database and everything. Quite a good source of statistics for the usage of security features like WEP and WPA and everything versus unprotected ones. So we came up with a really quick and ugly Perl script to compute a list of the SSIDs. And we're basically pretty close to rainbow tables for WPA. What we did, top 1,000 SSIDs, about 170,000 word English language dictionary. We also put the list of SSIDs we were calculating in there to look for the combinations, linksys, linksys, default, default. Remove the characters under 8 letters, anything over 64, because those are the limits for WPA, PSK passphrases. Many hours of CPU time, and you have WPA lookup tables. Unfortunately, I spent a month calculating these out on a couple of machines back home, only to discover that the password file I had fed was stored in Windows format, text file format, which has a return character at the end of every line. So every one of them had, you can go to the next one. So every one of them was calculated differently because there was this additional character on the end. So I go through the test, and none of them are working. This is a week ago. I'm panicking. Oh, sure.
I just want to interject something here because we've been going back and forth on MSN talking about different things and doing all the detail work on this stuff. So a week ago, when we're talking about doing this talk tonight, all of a sudden I get this "argh" across the screen.
I think it was a little more profane than that.
Well, I'm trying to be polite. So I said, "What's the problem?" And he went into this. So there was a lot of strange keys coming across at the same time. I think his forehead was, oh, okay, it was your fist? I thought it was his forehead was going to the keyboard a lot at that point. So we did get it corrected thanks to Mike.
Yes?
Using dictionary, English Western dictionary, you try to use maybe a possible combination of SSIDs you can probably create.
The question is, yeah, could we use a list of, a random list of SSIDs, or like going through A, B, C, AA, BB, CC, that sort of thing? Problem is that because each, like just for 170,000 words on each one of these networks, it's about 7.5 meg. To do anything larger would not have fit on the 2 DVDs like I had wanted. You could get into several terabytes worth of data or larger by doing something like that. Like sit down and do the math on it. Each one of these files being 7.5 megs for 170,000 words, you start breaking that out into dictionaries the size of what the Shmoo are using for the rainbow tables. I don't have that much storage, nor the processing power, so distribution became a problem. You could probably do it for one network, compute every possible, but I think I calculated out, and it was something in the range of like almost a petabyte or something, or no, terabyte, excuse me. Yeah?
CalPatty supports 4 terabyte files, so...
Oh, CalPatty supports 4 terabyte files, so as soon as I have a 4 terabyte array, I'll check that out. Okay. I saw another question here. I basically took Webster's dictionary and whatever was in there, so some diseases and stuff like that have lists like that. I didn't think that most users would use a 64-bit character or a 64-bit key, so. The thing is, the tool now exists. With this Perl script, you could feed it output from like John the Ripper would just give you everything and calculate it out yourself. Yeah. We're just sort of putting you off to a good start here and doing the first 170,000 words for you. And then sharing.
So what was the size of the output file?
Each network was about 7.4 meg, I think. Each network for 170,000 words. You can make it as big as you want. You did one of how many?
I've got Linksys that's like 2 gigabytes.
Yeah, he's got a 2 gigabyte Linksys one, so it's the possibilities is there. I see Kaminsky just did something funny. Thank you all for showing up. I can't believe that you came here over Kaminsky. Or was that room just full? I already seen it. Okay. So where all of these tools kind of culminated was last year, or at DEF CON, I was in one of the word driving contests while the Shmoo were giving their talk. So I didn't see Beetle release the Rogue Squadron WRT-54G firmware. So about a week after DEF CON, I had this great idea. Let's put air snarf on a WRT-54G. We'll have all sorts of fun. Oh, crap. So now every time I come up with a project, I run it past Beetle first to make sure he's not a week ahead of me. What we came up with was the evil bastard. The evil twin is something, how many of you heard of that in the media? It's a dumb term. Twin, one of two identical or similar people, animals, or things, a counterpart. Bastard, something that is of irregular, inferior, or dubious origin. The slang version is a person, especially one who is held to be mean or disagreeable. I can't even read. Which one sounds like a better description for a rogue spoofed access point? Bastard. Next. Rogue Squadron is proof of concept. It only snarfs hotspot passwords. You connect up, you get a captive portal screen that looks like your favorite coffee shop or whatever. Punch in your username and password, and oh, look, it's just emailed it to root. Good proof of concept, shows some security. We wanted to take the whole spoofed access point concept as far as it could go. There's a lot of theory about what could be done out there, but we just sort of, where can we go with this? And it was actually quite surprising. We wanted to have it self-contained, non-interactive, meaning that once it was set up in place, it would just sit there, do its thing. It didn't really require a user. We wanted it to get as much information as possible, not just hotspot passwords. We wanted it to get everything. I mean, you could do a straight TCP dump, but we were just looking for nice and easy to use. That was the main thing. It must not be easily detectable by users, and overall very quiet, meaning that it wasn't going to throw up a lot of errors or anything, or make itself apparent that it was going to be there. So the final product ended up being a WRT-54GS version 1 with the mini PCI card running OpenWRT. We used a program called YViz, which is a kind of a neat program that throws the access point into monitor mode and then shows you in this nice little Java window, oh, here's an access point, here's all the clients connected to it. Open source project, kind of neat, to very kind of low-end version of what Kismet is doing, just giving you a nice little showy thing. Well, we kind of modified that into a point and spoof interface. Oh, there's the access point I want to click, now I own it. SD card mod. So now you've got gigabytes worth of storage space on this little unit, which also supports snarf data for storage of snarf data, and you can also load a WPA PSK hash file on there. So now this little 200 megahertz MIPS processor can crack WPA for you. You have to know where it's going to be going in the first place, though. That's the only trick. It's configurable for snarfing any specific type of data. What we're doing is we're using the WDS backhaul to connect back into the network that we're spoofing. So if you've got a network of, say 5 access points all hooked into the same corporate infrastructure, and I pick a target and I say, I'm going to spoof that one. I set up a WDS bridge back into one of the other access points. So all of the clients that I drift over to my access point, they still have access to printers, server resources, internet, everything. I don't have to do anything. And as far as they're concerned, the network blipped. They reconnected, and suddenly you've got everything's still looking fine. With with other spoofed access points, usually you'll notice, okay, my printers are now down. I don't have access to that database and everything. But since everybody now has access to those resources, they're still going to keep doing those things, and we can still snarf all their data. Yes, but given the number of access points out there that do support it, you just have to get the right chipset to match it. I've been able to get WRT-54Gs talking to like Trendware and just all sorts of stuff. I think I even got it to a Belkin. But, a lot of it, they didn't specify it in the 811 specs, so it's kind of up in the air. It all depends on the manufacturer, but hey, we're working on it. How's that? We're not trying to be Feruza WRT, who were talking last year. I think they were calling it Fuxor WRT at that time. We're looking for a nice, quiet spoof, not an attack tool. So what do we get? What do we get into this thing? We got dsniff, which is still the de facto password sniffer. DNS spoof, which provides all sorts of possibilities for redirecting things like PayPal, eBay to an offsite, or even like a Thippet setup fake web page for phishing. Hotspots, you name it. You can just go in and punch in whatever address you wanted, wherever you wanted to go. You now own the DNS because we are the man in the middle. We control everything going in and out now. Got all sorts of fun here. I don't know if we actually got DriftNet finally running, but what we're trying to do is just snarf images to the SD card for later perusal. Webman in the middle, just the whole dsniff suite. Kismet drone for some fun. Yeah, we're the man in the middle. Like everything going through here, we now own. You get near the target, select it from the YViz interface, select the options of what you want to sniff, where you want to store it, set up a WDS backhaul if you wanted. You might have to use Void 11 or some other deauthentication attack to kick everybody else off to get them to drift to you. However, when you start looking into things like the Michael digest and the fact that an access point hit with 2 bad Michael packets in 60 seconds, the radio turns off. This is not a smart thing. So if you can get the radio to turn off on the access point you're spoofing, turn this one on, all of a sudden everybody's going to reconnect to you, and hey, look, I can change the MAC address to where the other one used to be. Yeah, it's just scary the amount that can actually be done with these things. Right? We can also send the data over email, NSF, FTP, or just viewed from the internal web server. It's all stored on the SD card, and since we would most likely have internet access with the unit, we can just have it backhaul everything off-site. And one thing that we really want to get going is a wall of sheep device. Basically, point, click, monitor this network, post every username masked and password masked, and yeah, all sorts of fun. Something to walk into the next client with, fire up, oh, gee, look, I'm seeing all your traffic go by, and oh, there's the boss's password, there's the secretary's. Yeah. Anything, Joshua? I'm not totally talking out of my ass here? Okay. Oh, nothing you could talk about. That's scary. Anything over there? No? Okay. So, buy this man a beer. Can't say that enough. Okay. To explain, Dutch, our man in Denmark, has been doing all the development on this. We've been able to poke at it remotely, check out the functions and everything. Unfortunately, he is currently going through chemotherapy and cancer, so he was unable to attend, and he just started chemotherapy and has basically just been in such bad shape he has not been able to get the thing shipped to us. We were hoping to have it here, set it up, give you a nice demonstration, and spoof one of the access points in the room here and see how quick everybody can watch their watch and time the network guys see how fast they clobber it. But just it was unfortunate that his health takes priority. We weren't able to get it here. Sorry, but we will be releasing a firmware for it. You guys can play with it, and hopefully we can spur some more development and see what happens. Other things I'm starting to work on is I was sent a WPG11 wireless presentation gateway. Have any of you seen these things? It's basically like a wide access point with a VGA out on it for streaming a PowerPoint presentation. You can have multiple computers and stream everything onto one screen. Very, very dumb device. Linksys, I don't know what their intended market was, but it was like $300 and it works terribly. But it's Linux-based, you've got VGA out, and a Wi-Fi Prism card. There's just a lot of potential there, a lot of fun. Kismet, Nucor, Dragor and I are chatting way too often, and every little dream that I've had for the Kismet drones, he seems to be wanting to put into place, so that this could be very entertaining. Things like the drones themselves having the capability of a server and just offloading all their data to another point, meaning that you can reconnect a drone after it's dropped. You can just plug in as many as you want. I'm really looking forward to this. Have a possibility of a Wi-Fi grenade, something that I'm poking at right now, which is if you could get a WRT54G or something like that to do deauthentication, strap a battery pack to that, shove it into a teddy bear or something like that, give it to the little 5-year-old, say, yeah, just walk to the office, dear. Yeah, go on, and just watch the networks drop. I don't know. I'm not going to be happy until I can do that. I can just, I don't know. My neighbor who just had the child that spurred a lot of this idea is truly scared about giving me any more ideas. The other thing I want to pursue is bigger lookup tables. Because right now what we've got is about 8.5 gigs of the first 1,000 access points. I want to see larger. If you guys take this tool, build up a gigantic Linksys one, let people know, share it. Because I honestly think that after a point we're going to be able to prove that a default SSID is going to be just as dangerous as a default password. So, how many of you are going to go home and change your SSIDs as soon as you get there? I know I am. I'm actually still sober. This is a surprise. I figured that there'd be something here, but there isn't. Wi-Fi attacks are not old news. It's just you need to reevaluate the approaches that have been taken. My whole methodology for projects is to sit back and say, what do I need? What's the tools I need? What problems do I have that need solving? Most of this is probably going to get put back into the war drawing contest next year. Any of you going to be participating in that?
Precinct Killiman's going to be back.
You're on it. Were you on that team?
Yeah, that's the...
Where's something heavy? Throw a Shmoocon at them. No. But, no, all you need to do is just sit back and say, why hasn't this been done? I was very surprised when I started off on the J. Dumas project of why is there not any programs out there that allow you to pre-compute a list of hashes? So sit back and have somebody else make it for you. Actually, it was more a case of just let's not reinvent the wheel. So, yeah, I got a quick demo here. How do we switch the inputs here? Yeah, we'll just do the brute force method here. Hang on. Okay, so I got a couple of quick canned demos here. All right. Exterm dash E. What? I don't know. This laptop is so messed up right now. The hinge broken on the screen and everything. Whatever. Okay. Basically, I just want to show you how fast this thing is now. This is a P3 700 laptop, nothing particularly fancy. This is running cow patty normally, basically feeding in a Linksys capture dictionary, telling it it's Linksys, just letting it run. Yeah, it's slow. All right. That was 279 passwords in 23 seconds for a grand total of 11.96 passwords a second. You can tell I don't give presentations to clients doing this in real time. However, we feed it the hash file for Linksys. We've now done 18,000 passwords a second. 3 orders of magnitude faster. So on the machine that I was using to calculate the hash files, it was taking about an hour to do one network. Now we can, once you've committed that 1 hour in the time-space trade-off, you've got that hour, you can now do it in about 10 seconds. So you can imagine that us at the DEF CON war driving contest, if we've been sitting there and been able to check 172,000 networks, or 172,000 passwords, we could have gone on to other things and probably gotten the password and beaten these guys. I want the jacket! Whoa. Oh. I think that means you owe me a beer now. No, we would have tied, but okay. So yeah, you can see this is going to be a lot faster. And over here, we've actually got a demonstration of YViz, and unfortunately not the modified one. You'll get the idea here. Yeah. What's that? Oh yeah. Is Beetle anywhere in the house? Is he? Anybody? Is he out in the hallway there at all? Someone want to throw something at him? I gave DVD all the. I gave Beetle a copy of all the hash data. It will be up on the torrent, the Shmoo torrent site along with the rainbow tables. Hopefully, I'll have an address for you if anybody's curious by the end of the conference here. Or yeah, there will be a whole write-up on the Church of Wi-Fi, but that'll be a couple of days before I get home. So I'm not sure what it's trying to do a logical orientation or a logical representation of everything. There's so much crap going on here that.
There's some pseudo-separation stuff going on, and it tries to all chase itself or chase each node away from the others. So.
Yeah. But you can see which clients are associated where and everything like that. So. You select the access point and says, okay, I want to spoof you. Boop, done. All right. Any questions? I'm just waiting. All right. Holy crap, that went fast. It's like 1:45. Okay. I have absolutely nothing else to talk about. Oh, over there. Question.
Have you ever considered cloning a VPN in real time where some idiot uses wireless to connect, say, through a Cisco VPN?
Like do a man in the middle?
Well, not so much. The man in the middle is, drop something when he goes to your access point, pick up his private key, and then sniff his RSA token through a keystroke logger or whatever, and then clone in real time the VPN.
Oh, it's very much possible that that could happen, and then you just end up tapping the VPN stream. So if the guy is smart and attempts to use a VPN at a coffee shop or something, then yeah. But how do you know that the operator of that coffee shop is not running something like the evil bastard, which is turning around and screwing everything and selling it on the table to who knows what to do God knows what. Yeah. Yep. Oh, Sleep will decode PPTP passwords for VPNs. So, okay, I'll have to look in porting that over to the MIPS here. Okay. Yeah, AirJack. Yeah, essentially, it's just a matter of porting this stuff over. This is just what we got working so far, because it's already a port of things like the dsniff packages and everything. I know I don't think we actually got the code from you for WP Cowpatty 3 in time, but I know we had the betas working. So it's just a matter of a quick recompile for WRT, and you've got WPA-PSK cracking on a tiny little device.
Were they able to handle an RSA token?
I honestly don't remember. It was like 4 years ago.
Okay.
Anything else? No? You got anything? No. We were hoping to have a longer demonstration. That's why I think it ran short. So, sorry about the delay. But Thank you all for not coming here, for coming here instead of Kaminsky.
You're just lucky. You're just lucky I had a lab I could convert.
How much processing power?
30 people are doing it.
It's amazing.
Well,
Like,
Josh
just,
told
we
me
can
about it.
go.
I'm like,
Still,
I
man.
wonder if he remembers I have a cluster. Because I'd offered it to him before.